Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast, Finding Your Flow. I'm so excited to have you here. So, I want to welcome you to our new season of this transformational podcast, and it's called My Intuition Made Me Do It. I'm your host, Jennifer Jane Young, and I'm here to ignite inspiration within you. I'm the author of Say Yes to Your Yes, How to Trust Your Gut and Take the Leap, and the visionary behind the School of Intuitive Leadership. I've dedicated my life to empowering individuals to trust their intuition and lead their lives from that powerful inner wisdom. Through my work as an international speaker and intuitive leadership advisor, I've witnessed the transformative power of following one's intuition firsthand with entrepreneurs and organizations around the world. This season, we're diving deep into the stories of people who dare to listen to their inner voice and take the leap. Join us as we unravel the mysteries of intuition, sharing captivating experiences that will reignite your belief in the incredible guidance within you. Get ready to embark on a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. It's time to embrace the clarity and courage that comes from trusting your intuition. So sit back, relax, and prepare to be inspired into action. Your dreams are waiting. Let's make them a reality together. Well, Thomas, I am so excited to have you on the podcast on this season of My Intuition Made Me Do It. We developed a dear friendship at NLV in Montana this year in February when we met for a conference. And I have to say, Thomas, you're so full of love and so full of positivity, and like you have such an energy of inclusiveness. I think that's really what drawed me into you. So I'm super excited for everyone to meet you and for you to share your story today about your intuition. So my first question to you is, the title of this season is called My Intuition Made Me Do It. So what did Thomas's intuition made him do? What is your My Intuition Made Me dot dot dot? What is that thing?
Fly to Los Angeles when I was 16 to sell a movie
Okay.
by myself.
There's so much to unpack there. Can you
Yes.
just like tell us more? That's
I mean, for
that's
all
already
intents and
really
purposes, I was born in Mississippi, but I had really never been west of Cleveland. But,
okay.
that's where the movies are made, is Los Angeles. And I had this
Right.
script idea, and I was working on it. I was just writing it at home and that. And it seemed like a good idea. And I kept on working on it, and I said, well, I'm going to try and sell this. And you can't just say, sometimes you just say it. And then I was
Mhm.
accused of all these fantasies. Oh, you have fantasies. And like the adults' fantasies are that I would get married and I would go to college and have 2.5 children. But that there was no reality to that whatsoever. But
Mm.
I had a job, I had a paper route, and so I had a little bit of money. And I just got the idea. I said, I'm gonna try and sell this script. It wasn't a great script. It was actually, I read it later and it stunk, but we'll talk about that at the end. However, it was enough to get me on an airplane by myself, which I figured out how to do it. And it was a long time ago, so this was, you could actually pay before the flight. They couldn't do that
Okay.
now because really the tickets are much cheaper at the last second.
Right.
So I flew there by myself, and that was a story in itself because we went up to Newark and then into San Francisco, and couldn't go to San Francisco. We had to go to Reno. It was like a 24-hour ordeal because it was foggy,
Right.
and I was burned out from the divorce and from high school and everything. Well, that's a whole backstory, and I just had to do this. I felt that I had to make the attempt.
Hmm.
So I just like the first day I was there, I was probably just too tired from flying and jet lag for the first time in my life. And but eventually I figured out how to get to a movie studio. I'd look in the phone book. This is before the internet. And yeah, I know it sounds so quaint now. The phone book's everywhere, and now
I
people are like,
love
"What's a
it.
phone book?" And if there's a phone book, it's really skinny. But I figured it out. And MGM was in Culver City, so I just took the bus down there, tried to get on the lot, couldn't. And I mean, I'm thinking like, I'm not going to trespass. I'm not going to get arrested. You can't just act like you belong. I mean, the security guard said you have to have an appointment. So
Right.
I ended up that was my first trip. I actually went twice. So I still was working on the movie, and I was still going to school and that, and I didn't care that I missed school, but I skipped a lot. But I did. But that May, a couple months later, I booked another flight, and this time I was a little bit more focused. There was a producer's office that was off a lot, and I actually went in there, talked to the receptionist. I don't think it was the producers of the Rocky movies. Is Irwin Charlotte and Robert Winkler, or Charlotte Winkler, and I mean, so I recognize their movies. I recognize their names. So I went in there. Now, as it turns out, they would not have looked at it because I didn't have an agent, and
Right.
that's fair. Because if because they'll say, like, if you say, I have this really good idea about a movie, and then you don't have any protection, then somebody can steal that idea, and then you're out in the cold. And so that wasn't your idea. But when you
Mhm.
have legal representation, when you have an agent, then somebody can't just come up with your idea and
Right.
take it. But I did go. I mean, I actually got into the room. I mean, I got into the office. I couldn't finagle my way past the receptionist. I don't know if anybody was back there.
Right.
But I mean, I went the distance. I just had the urge. I took it as far as I could.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and
So,
when I went back to read the script later, it was, everybody talked in my voice, which is a rookie mistake. But there could have been
right.
rewrites, and if I'd gotten in with the right people, I probably could have done something.
So, okay, I love this story for a couple of reasons. First of all, that was so bold of you to
Hmm.
do. And one of the things I often teach is like, the level of boldness that we embody essentially communicates to the universe what we're ready for, right? So the how big or small or medium the leap is kind of like, okay, I'm taking this kind of leap, so I'm ready for this level of experience. And so that was a really bold move. And I'm curious because I don't believe that like the final destination is actually really important. Whether you got the script sold or didn't get the script sold, for me, I think what's really important is the journey, the process. So what do you feel is the most important lesson you learned from following your intuition on like jumping on a plane and going to try to sell your script?
Well, first of all, I'm not old and regretting. I said I could have done that. I could have done that. It's like, no, I took it as far as I could. But also, it
Right.
really just showed me about travel and how I love being on airplanes. So
Mm,
that really, I mean, because really, because some people accuse me of running away from home, but no, I was going to come back. It was basically a
yeah,
business trip. I mean, it was monkey business, but it was a business trip. So, I mean, I knew I was going to come back.
right.
And I never once did I think about movie stars and red carpets and all that. I mean, I was really just wanted the work. I wanted to, and I was even going to cast the people in my school because I thought it was because at the time, it seemed like all the teenagers are very old in movies.
Yeah,
I mean, because it was like Dawson's Creek or something. They're all 30. Beverly Hills
right.
90210. They were all much older than high school students playing
Right,
high
right,
school
right.
students. So I thought if you get actual 16-year-olds playing 16-year-olds, there would
Yeah,
be something a little bit more authentic about it.
yeah. Okay, that's amazing. So it helped you essentially discover your love for travel. And yeah, I just think that's so inspiring. You're inspiring me because I have this secret little dream to work on a movie one day in my life.
Mhm.
And so you're inspiring me to take some big leaps in that direction just for fun, just for the pleasure of it.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I'm curious, Thomas, like, what did that intuitive nudge initially feel like when you started to feel like your intuition was telling you to do this thing? Like, what did it feel like internally initially?
Well, I mean, the fear did come up. I mean, I remember I was shaking when I was at the airport because that
Okay.
day, I had to go to the bank to withdraw some money, which didn't get to do that all that often. And I mean, just the reality of doing it
Yeah.
was a little bit shaky. But once you get on, like nobody's gonna stop you. Nobody
Right.
cared, nobody knew. I
Right.
just kind of just acted accordingly. I did what I had to do.
Hmm. This is a very common theme that comes up actually when I ask people about their stories and I think I was talking about this yesterday when I interviewed Andy, is like there's that initial fear, right? It's like it feels scary. Like you said, you were shaking. Your nervous system is like, oh my God, you're
Mhm.
gonna die. That's kind of
Yes,
the the message that's going through our
feel
nervous
that
system. And
way.
then yeah, it feels that way. But once you just and I don't have my cup here right now. It's in the kitchen. I had it yesterday with Andy. It says freedom is on the other side of fear. is
Mhm.
like that initial fear is not the truth of the whole scenario. And if you just take one step forward through that fear and you cross the line of that fear, then you're like you said, like, oh, actually wasn't that scary after all.
Mhm.
Once I just passed that initial scary step, like that first step, that first leap that we need to take. So
Mhm.
um, I love that you shared that. Um, I'm curious because this is a question I often ask myself. It feels like a very scary question to me because when I think about this, I get a feeling of like, oh my God, I'm so grateful for having listened to my intuition all those times. What do you think your life would look like now if you had not done that thing, if you had not taken that leap?
Oh.
What would be different?
Well, I mean, I'd probably be full of hot air. I'd talk about
Okay.
things. I'd probably be on Instagram acting like I was really cool and in swimwear because that's what you do on Instagram.
Right.
I probably, but I just know. It's like based on what I know. It's something like, oh, I could have done that. But by doing that, I mean, you physically did it. I mean, you do it for real. Is the
Right.
difference between fantasizing about asking somebody out and asking somebody out.
Hmm.
They may say no. They may have good reasons. They may just hide behind a boyfriend who may not exist. But they might already say, I'm busy that weekend. My parents have me out of town, which is fair. But at least you know and you ask instead of just saying, and then I said, oh, she was the one who got away.
Let's just take a moment to pause, breathe, and soak in the goodness of today's story. I hope it's starting to inspire you to say yes to your yes, trust your gut, and take your next leap forward. If so, I have something amazing to support you as you take your next leap. I'm inviting you to join my 12-week journey to intuitive mastery called Unlock Your Inner Wisdom so that you can start living the life you're yearning for right now. I'm also throwing in 2 bonuses for you: a digital copy of my book, Say Yes to Your Yes: How to Trust Your Gut and Take the Leap, and a 1-month complimentary access to my flow experience to start creating flow from the inside out. Because when life flows through you, abundance flows to you. Head over to jenniferjaneyoung.com/say yes to get all of your goodies. So I love that because, one of the things that I often see in people is like this sort of sitting with all of their dreams and yearnings inside of them, wondering what that experience would be like, what that experience would feel like. How would their life be different if they would have said yes to their yes, if they would have done the thing? And there's so much peace that comes with knowing that you did the thing and you have the information, the feedback of having taken the action. And I'm thinking like I might have never met Thomas if you had not gotten on that plane to go to try to sell that movie because you might have not discovered that love for traveling and you might have never come to NLV and we might have never met you, like
Right.
it's all of these things that we need to think about when we don't say yes to our yes, like
Yeah.
all of the
Because some
experience
people
that would
were
have never happened.
because
Yeah, go
some people
ahead.
were complaining that Montana was too far away. Now, first of all, if Sarah had no longer virtual in Maui, it would be sold out in 24 hours. Nobody would say, "Oh, I
Right,
have to fly 5 hours from the West Coast." They would all
right,
go to
right.
Hawaii. But I'm thinking, I flew to New Zealand last year. I'm really not afraid of 2 hours from 2 hours north of Denver.
Right. Right, right, right. Yeah. And I mean, there's so like it was a long travel for me. I think it was a total of 16 hours, 3 flights, but
Hmm.
every moment of it was so beautiful and so perfect. I actually gifted my book to an incredibly kind barista at Starbucks. Like there was
Oh
just so many
yeah.
wonderful things that happened. So I love that. Um, so like when you were moving through, like we talked about the initial fear, when you were moving through the whole process of like you got there, you went to try to sell the book, like the the in the middle part, I call it the messy middle. Um, how did that feel? Like going to like try to find the producer, all of the steps in between. What was that process like for you?
I didn't really think about it. It's not like a job interview because I don't think I'd
Right.
really been on a proper job interview at that point. Whereas you think, oh, I'm going to say this and I'm going to dress this way. I did dress for it. But, I just kind of went with it. I just took the bus down to where I had to go. I do remember on the way back, I ended up getting an ice cream cone at the bus stop, and then the bus shows up. So there I am, like kind of hide an ice cream cone on the bus. I didn't want to throw it away. That has nothing to do with selling a movie or not selling a movie. It's just things that happen, but you shouldn't eat on the bus. Or you shouldn't eat
Yeah.
ice cream on the bus. But
Well,
they didn't
maybe
kick
it's
me
okay to
off.
eat
They
on
didn't
the.
say, "Oh, you have to you can't bring
Yeah.
that on here."
Yeah. So essentially, like you just took one step after the other. Like you didn't, it wasn't like an overthinking process. It was just an intuitive, like one step after the other, move
Yes.
through the process and see what happens. And I think that's the best way to approach these kind of leaps is just approach it with curiosity. Like the next step is going to lead me to the next step and it's going to lead me to the next step. And it's so simple when you think about it, right? It like we don't
Yes.
actually have to over plan anything in our heads.
Mhm.
Yeah.
'Cause yeah, I was
Um,
always raised to have people think about the finished product. They would just say, "Oh, you'll
mhm.
have this," but it takes all the steps to get there. You don't just, there's no magic wand.
Yeah.
You
And
can't just say poof. No, you're in a relationship. Poof, you have like a nice house and a nice job. I mean, you
yeah.
have to build it and you have to buy everything in the house. It's a whole thing, but
Yeah.
eventually
Again,
you have
it's
it,
right.
and it's
It's the
nice.
process really. And sometimes what I've learned, and this is why I always tell people, do not get attached to the final result that you have in your head because sometimes that final result never shows up. Sometimes it's actually because our brains filter out so much information. Like our capacity to see what's possible for ourselves is like so tiny, right? So sometimes you're meant to go on a journey for the growth of it. Your story exactly is a perfect example.
Yes.
Like you didn't sell the movie, but that wasn't really important at the end of the day. It was like the growth that you went through as you went down that journey.
Oh
So
yeah.
that brings me to my next question of like, how did things look and feel for you after you did the thing? Like once you got home after those two trips of like trying to sell your script, how did you feel? How did life shift for you?
People were different because I mean, I had gone through like all the having my whole life uprooted with the divorce and that. I mean, I started to meet better people. It was women who saved my life. I mean, that's like the girls in school, because women. Yes, yes, take credit. You weren't there, but you were there. But it's just that no, because like girls were treated like like mothers of the future or something. It's
Right.
like, well, they're gonna have children, but they also have brains and they're friendly and you can talk to them.
Yeah.
It's I mean that's not really a dangerous thing to say, but
Yeah.
you just take people at face value, and instead of just trying to date, because like, are you gonna
Yeah.
date her? Are you gonna ask her out? I'm like, maybe I will, but if things go that direction, but
Yeah.
and that's where the thing is like relationships work way to pass fail. Whereas I actually succeeded because you meet a bunch of people, you get to know them a little bit, and then
Mm,
sometimes you get to know people a little bit, and then they're with you for like 8 or 10 years, and you only get
yeah.
to see them rarely, and but it's so nice. I'm like, geez, I never thought you'd be much of anything, or not. That's not a nice thing to say, but I didn't think that it would be like a really significant relationship. But it's always really nice when they
Yeah.
pop up in your life.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And I think, again, like what's happening inside of us, like has a ripple effect on our outside world and our life around
It
us
does.
after. And so anytime you say yes to your yes and take any kind of leap in your life, life shifts after. Like there's something that is going to shift because your energy has shifted from doing the thing. So I love that. And I love that women saved your life because you are so special, Thomas. And
Yes.
yeah, it was like I just felt so lucky to meet you this
Oh
year at
yeah.
NLV. Um, and I'm curious, like what if you were going to share one piece of wisdom to someone who is wanting to trust their gut and do the thing, take the leap, but they're like stuck and not doing it, what would be one piece of wisdom that you would share?
Well, you could probably get an agent. I mean, that would be one thing. I mean, or just meet people, because there's a lot of people. There's a lot of writers. I know some people who like one guy who went to my school has written movies and written shows, and
Hmm.
there was a film called Giallo, which was a sort of a horror movie directed by Dario Argento, who's a pretty big Italian horror director, and he wrote that. He and his partner wrote that. I mean, he's done a lot of work. I mean, he's done Rent on not on Broadway, but I mean theater. I mean, he's done a lot. But you
Okay.
just have to find people, and then some of them will workshop. I know because like during the writers' strike, he was saying, "Hey, I've got all this time on my hands. If you want to workshop, if you want to learn, now's the time." But you just get in with the
Mm,
right people, or you just find who the people are, not necessarily the ones who are going to charge you money, because you never know if they're just going to run off, or but the ones that you just get to know people. If you just branch out and network, you hopefully you can meet the right people,
yeah,
and then even if you don't get to where you expected, you'll get somewhere, and it'll be somewhere respectable.
right. So, yeah, this is so important, right? Because sometimes we stay in the comfort of our home and the comfort of what we know. I talk a lot about this in the book, the right brain, the left brain being our comfort zone, the right brain being like creativity and inspiration and like more playful energy, like like when we were kids. And at the end of the day, no matter what you're trying to do in life, people are the key to moving you forward. Like I would never be where I am today without the people that came into my life along my path. So I think that this is such a great piece of wisdom. It's like go out into the world and meet some people. If you want to do the movie thing like you did, go out into that
Hmm.
world and meet some people. If
Yes.
you want to do something else, like I don't know, do the eat, pray, love thing and travel, around the world, like
Mhm.
meet people who are in that world doing that thing. So I think that's such a beautiful piece of wisdom. Yeah. So, Thomas, if someone listens to this and just feels like connects so deeply to your story and feels intuitively like they want to reach out to you, they want to ask you more questions about this story, is that possible? And if so, like, what would be the best way for someone to reach out to you?
You could probably, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn,
Okay.
under Thomas Jackson. There is a Sir Thomas Jackson, so don't go to him. I have not been knighted yet. I just found. I mean, I was doing a Google search because I don't know. I don't know how common your name is, but I get Stonewall Jackson all the time when I do a
Oh,
Google
yes.
search. I mean, there's probably
Okay.
Jennifer Youngs, but it's not Jennifer Jane Youngs. So that's probably having the full name probably helps you. You'll probably be on the top
Yeah.
of Google. But
Right, right,
now I'm gonna have
right.
to go look for that after we get off here. But yeah, I'm on there. I write 400 articles a year, so I'm on there quite often.
Okay, so I'm going to put in the show notes, I'm going to put the link to your LinkedIn so people can connect with you there if
Yes.
they'd like. And I'm just so grateful that you came on to share your story and that I get to share who Thomas is with my
Yes.
community because you are so special. And I just wanted to thank you for being here and sharing so openly the story about trying to sell your movie script. It was really
Yeah.
inspiring.
Oh yeah. No, it really was. And every adult was against it. I mean, everyone's
Right.
like, "You're not going to do that. That's impossible." I'm like, "Well, it's not impossible. I mean, it's improbable, but it's an
Difference.
uphill battle. But
Right, right,
I
right.
mean, you have to make the attempt because if you don't make the attempt, see, that's what the
Yeah,
word impossible is. I mean, I'm not even going to try, and that
yeah,
just at least
yeah.
make the attempt. I mean, do something.
Mm,
And I
yes,
had
at
more chance
least
of
make
selling
the
a movie
attempt.
than I had of getting accepted into a college at that point because I wasn't a very good student.
I
And I didn't
mean,
really.
welcome
Yeah,
to the club. You were talking about skipping
yeah,
school. That's all I did when I was at
oh
school. I
yeah. I never
skipped
skipped
most of it.
work. I mean, I learned my
Yeah,
lesson, but I just it
yeah,
was school was you know seemed like they
yeah,
wouldn't care if I were there or not, and I didn't do
yeah.
anything fun. And a lot of it was there was taunting as well, but I don't really want to. That's a whole other. That was in a LinkedIn article. I realized it because groups of boys would just taunt me, and I mean it wasn't
Mm,
quite bullying, but it was bad enough. And
sounds
then
like
the adults,
bullying.
yeah, and they're like, oh, they how can they say that? They're children. How could you say that they're doing anything wrong? I'm like, well, you can be tried as an adult. But
Mm,
that's and actually that was another turning point after between the two trips, and after
yeah,
that is that I got away from all the riffraff that wasn't really friends with me, but they would just bark things out in the cafeteria, and that's
right.
when I would go talk to different people, and I sat at different tables. This is another important thing because I noticed that
Yeah.
even though the one class where there were no assigned seats, everybody sat at the same table every day. And I thought, well, why don't I go talk to these people, and then I'll talk to this group, and and then I met a whole different group of people, and you just branch out. And when you meet
Oh
different
man,
people, you have different chances and different opportunities, different conversations.
this is so good.
Hmm.
I'm so glad we continued a little bit. This is so, so good. Sit at different tables. What even if you're not in school anymore, like wherever you are in the world, sit at different tables. I really
Oh
want you
yeah,
guys to like absorb that because you're right. We get so comfortable with the people we know. Um, even when those groups of people are not good for us, it's known and comfortable. So,
yeah, yeah.
um,
Some people are like a bad habit.
yeah, exactly. So, two things I want to leave people with. Just attempt, just try, do the thing, even
Mhm.
if it doesn't work, even if it's not perfect, and sit at different tables. Wisdom from Thomas
Yeah,
today. I love it. Thank you so much, Thomas, for being here. This was so, so, so good. I can't wait to share this episode.
you're
And
welcome.
I'm excited to just stay connected. I feel very lucky to be in your inner circle. So thank
Oh
you.
well, thank you.
Okay, let's just take a moment to take in that story. My wish is that it inspires you into the aligned action that you are really ready for. You also don't have to do this alone. Just like my guests have shared about all the incredible people that have supported them along their journey, we are here for you too. If you're ready to uplevel your personal leadership, take big leaps in your life, or take that next leap on your entrepreneurial journey, join us at the School of Intuitive Leadership or in the Flow Experience so that you can experience more ease, flow, joy, abundance, and live in your full brilliance and wake up each day to the life that you really want. Find out more at jenniferjaneyoung.com or at theschoolofintuitiveleadership.com. And participate in this movement with us by sharing an episode that deeply inspired you and leaving us a review. I can't wait to see you on the next episode.